Let's ask the player for their name. So how do we do that? Well, first off, we need a place for our player to type their name into. So if we go back to our dialog widget up in the designer, we can drag a text box into our canvas panel. Remember, a text box allows a player to, well, input stuff or type stuff. It can only be a single line. Just remember that. We're going to make this in the center. So let's 000, size of 550, let's say. And change the alignments to 0.5 and 0.5 so that it's in the center. I'm also going to change the font family to Roberto. If you don't see any fonts, by the way, you can go to your view options, make sure show engine content is checked, or import your own fonts. Bold and 28 for the size. You can also set a hint text for your text, which will just be sort of gray letters that will automatically go away as soon as the player starts typing. It's just there to give a player a hint as to what to type. So I'm going to say, please type your name here. Oh, that actually fit perfectly. That was completely not planned. I'm actually really surprised. Alright, moving on. If we go down to our visibility, we want this to be hidden by default. Or not hidden, sorry, collapsed by default, because we don't want it there unless we're asking for the player name. So let's compile and save. And let us go back to our graph one. We're going to need to tell our dialog that we want to ask for the player name. So how do we do that? Well, first off, we need our widget to be a participant in order for our dialog to directly tell it to do stuff. So actually, let's go back to our dialog and go to its class settings up here, edit class settings. And under interfaces, we're going to add the, sorry, that's a visual bug that happens on my monitor. We're going to add the DLG dialog participant interface. We need to make sure that the get participant name returns something. So let's return, let's say, widget. Compile, save that. And what I'm going to do to ask for the player name is I'm going to actually use a boolean, to know when we're doing that. So add a new variable. We'll call this ask for player name question mark. Here we go. And back in our dialog on the hello, what is your name? I'm going to add an enter event. Set the participant to widget. The event is going to be a modify bool variable, and the variable name is not showing up because we need to tell our dialog that our class for widget is a widget dialog widget. So back in our dialog participant classes, underneath the one where widget is, participant class, we'll change this to w underscore dialog. And then back in our what is your name, the variable name for ask for player name should show up. There it is. And we're going to change this to true. We also want to set it back to false in the next line because, well, we don't want it to be asking for a player name from now on every single line. So go back to nice to meet you, enter events, participant name widget, change modify bool variable, ask for player name, set this to false. Perfect. Save that. And back in our dialog, what we're going to do is, based on if we're asking for a player name, well, after we're done typing, we're going to, well, ask for the player name if this is true. So how are we going to do that? Well, it has to be after we're done typing, and that happens in 3 places. It's going to happen in our instant type speed, after we're done typing normally, and when we click to continue. And instead of adding this functionality to all 3 of those, I'm going to do it in the show options function, because that happens at the end of every one of those paths regardless. So in our show options, I'm going to delete this comment to make some more space. Let's drag this out a bit. I want to say if we are asking for the player name, get ask for player name branch. Then we're going to do something. Otherwise, we can go back to showing our options. So obviously this won't work if you, well, want to have options right after you ask for the player name. So what do we want to do if we're asking for the player name? Well, we are going to get our editable text box. Let's give this a friendlier name. We'll call this player name input. So we'll get our player name input, and we're going to set visibility to visible. Compile, save, play again. Let's see if it works, and it doesn't. And there's a very good reason for that. That's because back in our level blueprint, it needs our dialog to be part of our participants up here. However, our widget also needs the dialog in order to start. And obviously we can't add our dialog to, we can't add our widget to our dialog participants before the widget has been created. So we're going to change our widget around a little bit. Instead of asking for the dialog context directly after it's been created, what we're going to do is we're going to just ask for the dialog to start. And we'll start it up here in our event construct instead of in our level blueprint. Like we can delete this one. So in our event construct, we're going to say start dialog. Start dialog. Make sure you choose the one without any numbers, by the way. This is the one that allows us to pass in an array. The other ones, start dialog, they require you to pass in each individual participant one by one. I'm not sure why anyone would use that, but it's there. And we're going to promote this to variable, promote the dialog we're starting to a variable. Let's make this called DLG dialog. And we're also going to promote the participants to a variable. We'll call this participants. And we want these both to be public and exposed to spawn. Instance editable, and exposed to spawn. So exposed to spawn this, exposed to spawn that. And that's what we're going to be setting to our dialog context. So we have to set our dialog context directly after that. And then we check if the dialog context is valid. Oh, there is also the obvious thing. The reason why we're doing this, we need our participants to include our widget, ourself. So before we do any of that, let's get our participants and add ourself. Self. Here we go. Making these straight, by the way, is a huge pain because you'll notice that these execution wires can't ever be straight for either the right or left of our ad, which is really annoying. To do that though, we can just select all of these, right click, alignment, straighten connections. It will automatically straighten all the connections, and we just move these down a little bit. Here we go, compile, save. So this now works, but back in our level blueprint, if we refresh our create widget, well, first off, our dialog context should not be exposed to spawn. Let me change that. Dialog context not exposed to spawn. Compile and save. Now in our level blueprint, this should be red, so let's break this connection. Let's delete this start dialog because we're no longer doing it here. The dialog we're starting is test dialog, and the participants is this array. Compile, hit play, see if it works, and it works. And you'll notice that as soon as this is done typing, please type your name shows up. Now there are a couple of problems. First off, well, you also notice that we start typing, the please type your name goes away. But also, if we hit enter, nothing happens. Also, if we click outside of it, the click to continue still moves on, and this stays on screen. So let's change that. Back in our dialog widget, when we go to click to continue, we're going to ask if our player name input, get player name input, we're going to ask if is visible. And we're going to branch. If it is visible, we're just going to do nothing. If it isn't visible, we can go back to doing what we used to do when we clicked on our click to continue. String connection. Alright. Compile, save, and play, and we can no longer, we can no longer click around. Alright, now to deal with when we hit enter on our player name input. To modify that function, we can just go to the bottom here under events, we can go to on text committed. On text changed happens whenever the player is just typing or modifying our text in any way. On text committed is when we either hit enter or the text box loses focus. In other words, that we click somewhere else. So let's modify on text committed. First off, we want to make sure that the commit method is enter. So we want to make sure that we click enter instead of clicking somewhere else. So if it equals on enter, and we also want to make sure that the branch is not empty. So is empty not. And we're going to do an and for these. So if these are all both of these are true, we're going to do something with this text. What are we going to do? Well, what I'm personally going to do in this this particular example is I'm going to tell our participant that the okay, let's get rid of these. These are from the last attempt at this video. I'm going to tell our participants that our players, well, what our player name is. Compile, save. So let's add a variable, and I'm going to call this player name. Make this a text. Compile, save. And we could put our player name back in our dialog widget because it's now a DLG participant. But I'm going to put it on our participant just because, well, our participant is not going to be used in our final version of this project at all. We're going to be using completely different classes. So I figure I might as well just put them all in here, the temporary variables that we're not going to be using. So player name. When we commit our player name, we are going to get our participant somehow. We can do that by getting our dialog context and calling get participant. Participant name being Ispheria. We're going to cast this to participant because it doesn't know it's a participant that has that variable. And if it is a participant, we are going to set as participant, we're going to set player name to be whatever we typed in here. We are also going to set the visibility of our player name input. Set visibility to be collapsed, because now it can go away. And we're also going to choose option 0 right away, because otherwise we would have to click again in order to make the text go to the next line, instead of moving on to the next line automatically when we hit enter. So choose option 0. Compile, save that. If we go back to our dialog, let's put our name somewhere. Over here, let's go thanks, I appreciate it, followed by the player name. Player name in curly brackets. Participant name is Ispheria, and participant, we're going to get the class text variable for player name. Save and play. What is your name? Well, I can't name myself Ispheria. Let's go trash. Nice to meet you. Affection now at 0. Give gift. Thanks, I appreciate it, trash. Trash now shows up here. Excellent. One other thing we can do is we can modify how we address the player based on, well, our affection. So every time we change the the affection level of Ispheria, what we can do is we can say, alright, well, it changed. Now let's see if we change the way we address the player. Let's go add a new variable. Let's call this honorific. I'm actually not sure how to spell this. Player name ending. Let's go with that. And this is going to be the kun or chan or whatever people put, or Japanese people put at the end of names. Alright? And how we're going to do this is, back when we changed the affections levels, where instead of modifying class int variable, we're just going to modify int. So we have to manually put that functionality back in our modify int value. So once again, we have to go back to being switch on name being affection. If it is affection, we're going to branch on delta. Actually, let's make this a sequence because I already know ahead of time it's going to be we're going to have to do 2 steps in an order. So if it is a delta, we will get our affection, set our affection plus the value goes in here. Otherwise, we're simply going to set our affection to be value. Okay, so this part is where we comment modify affection. After that, what we're going to do, oh sorry, this sequence is in the wrong one. It's going to be after the switch on name. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, is our affection greater or equal to, say, 3? And we're going to branch. And if it is greater or equal to 3, we're going to set our player name ending to be, well, spacebar for 1, dash kun. Otherwise, we're going to set it to be spacebar dash sun. Here we go. Compile, save, and then back in our dialog, we can say, I appreciate player name, and in more brackets, this is going to be ending, because I can't remember how to spell honorifics. You'll notice that we now have 2 text arguments here because we have 2 text arguments. The first one, number 0, is still player name. The second one, however, our participant name is going to be Hesperia. It's going to be class text variable, and we're going to get our player name ending here instead. So let's save. Let's play. What is your name? Trash. Nice to meet you. Affection now at 0. Give gift. Thanks, I appreciate trash. That's not showing up for some reason. Give gift. Oh, I know why. It's because it has a default value of 0. I mean, it has a default value of nothing first off, and when we modify the int value at first, it happens after when we enter this node over here. The modify int value hasn't gone off yet, but the text still says it still knows what the text is supposed to be, so it didn't change what ending is until after we modified the int. So let's just give this a default value, the player name ending of spacebar sun. Compile, save again, press play. What is your name? Trash, nice to meet you. Affection now 0, give gift, I appreciate trash sun. Give gift. And now it's at 2, give another gift, still sun, give another gift, and now it's trash kun, because our affection is now 3 or higher. Okay. Let's do one last thing. We don't want our player to be able to, let's say, enter a ton of characters. Like that. Because it would get kind of ridiculous to look at. Like that. So how we can do this is we can limit how many characters our character can type. So back in our designer, back in our player name input, on the text change, we can modify this. So every time our text changes, this is going to fire off, and we're going to say, hey, if our text to string, because there is no way of finding out how long it is with the text, length, we're going to find out what its length is. If it is greater or equal to, let's say, well, it's whatever you want, but I'm going to say something like 10. I'm going to branch. So if it is greater or equal to 10, what we're going to do is we're going to set the player name inputs text. So set text. Sorry, not tooltip. Set text in the text box. There it is. We are going to set it to what it is right now, but only the leftmost characters, the 10 leftmost characters. So if we compile, save, and play again, if we keep typing, we can't type any more than 10 letters. You know, even if we say copy and paste these, copy, delete and paste, it still won't go past 10 letters. So that's how we can limit our the number of letters we have. You can also, you know, check to see if it's a two-numer number. That's odd. Utilities, string, substring is numeric. We can also say if it has any numbers, we can get rid of the numbers and stuff like that, but you know, it's fairly simple and obvious to do, so I'm not going to bother in this video. I think that should actually do it. I can't think of anything else to go over when it comes to asking for our player names, so that should be about it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.